This is a vlog I've been meaning to do for a really long time. Sleep is probably the subject I get asked most about because I haven't hidden the fact that Jesse is, I hate saying a bad sleeper. When I say he's a bad sleeper, he's a terrible sleeper, I'm just messing about. It's just obviously the easiest way of saying that he doesn't sleep through, he has some sleep issues. It's just the easiest way of saying that, but he's not a bad sleeper. Do you know what I mean? Babies aren't bad because they don't sleep 12 hours a night. It's just like, he's just like a normal baby. So like with Archie, we'd have times when things were difficult with sleep, we'd have really good times with sleep. It was just up and down, which from my experience, that's what babies are like. You go through good patches, you go through bad patches. Every baby is different. So I suppose it's a good time for a disclaimer that in this video, anything I say, I do not judge any parent on how they choose to get their child to sleep. Cry it out, sleep training, no sleep training. I honestly don't judge anyone, and that is not the point of this video. The point of this video is just literally to talk about our experience with Jesse, because the way we've done things with him have been a lot different than with Archie, and I've put a lot less pressure on us and him with sleep. Our experience with Archie and sleeping wasn't bad, really. He slept through a few times in the first year, probably, I don't know, once or twice a month from 5-6 months. But the other times he'd just go through a natural pattern that I think most babies do. He'd wake once a night for a feed or twice a night. Then we started to drop the feeds, and then we'd go through bad developmental stages where he'd be up a lot and not. The thing that's been different this time is that Archie was bottle fed and Jesse has been entirely breastfed. When you're really sleep deprived as well, often I think you just do what you can to survive, and that is kind of what we fell into with Jesse. But now it's not just surviving, it's kind of turned into something that I love now. This room I'm in right now is Jesse's nursery. How many times has he slept in this room? As I said, Archie was an average sleeper. Now he's 3.5 and he goes to bed in his own room. When he's asleep, he will sleep through most nights until he's usually up about 6, sometimes 7. So, and he still naps in the day. So yeah, it's really nice that he at the moment doesn't cause us any issues at night. Jesse is our main sleep thief. So Jesse, he slept incredibly well as a newborn. He would literally sleep for 5, 6, 7 hours, wake for a feed for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, sometimes not even that, and go back to sleep for another 5, 6 hours. Up until, I'd say, 4 months, he slept incredibly well. He never slept through, but he'd sleep well, and then he'd wake for a 5-10 minute feed in the night and go back to sleep. At 4 months, things started to change. He started to wake every couple of hours, all night long. At the time I thought, oh, it's the 4-month sleep progression. It's just a stage and he'll start sleeping better soon. He was, we co-sleep, bed share, but we have a snooze pod, so he sleeps in his snooze pod or in with us, and I breastfeed him through the night. But yeah, at 4 months things started to change, but I really thought it was just a sleep regression and things would get back to normal. And when we got to 5 months, I kind of thought, so things aren't really, haven't really got any better, and I started to think maybe this isn't just a regression. And now he is 11 months next week. Since 4 months, I would say there's been no drastic change. So we have a lot of nights where things have sort of changed recently, but let's just say up until recently, he would wake every 1 to 2 hours all night long. Some evenings we've gone through stages where I'll put him down, he'll sleep for 3-4 hours and give us an evening, and then wake when we go to bed, and then the pattern continues through the night. Lately, I've been putting him to bed, he goes to bed around 7, and he'll wake after half an hour or an hour, and I have to put him back to sleep. And more recently, the pattern is that during the evening I will have to come back and resettle him once or twice. It's not too bad most of the time, because I will just nurse. I'll go through what we do at bedtime now a little later, but I will just nurse him, and he does go back to sleep fairly quickly. So I do still feel like I am getting some time in the evenings. Because of the heat and everything at the moment, it's really, really hot at the moment. It's the middle of summer, well, beginning of summer. So it's that factor. He's got three teeth, but the other top one is coming through, and I think it's been causing him a bit of bother. So, you know, at any time, at any stage of a baby's, especially the first year of life, there's always all these other things going on. So in fact, when people say to me like, oh, my baby slept through from 6 months or from 5 weeks, I'm not saying they're lying at all, but in my, I'm like, is that really possible? Because my experience with my two is that they're just up, down. They have stages. They go through stages of sleeping well, not sleeping well. And I think, are there babies? I'm sure there is. Are there babies out there that literally consistently sleep through every single night? It just seems like a bit of a myth, but that's only because we haven't experienced it with our two. Well, Archie sleeps well now, but not as tiny babies. So yeah, that's kind of where we are, and I talk a lot about it on my Instagram and in my videos, how Jessie doesn't sleep well, and I just want people to know that I don't think it's an abnormal thing, and I've been through really hard stages. Some nights I find it so difficult, and some nights I do break down and I'm just like, why won't he sleep? But then other nights go better, and I'm just going to talk about how we deal with it and kind of the route we've taken and where we are now and why we are happy now, even though things haven't massively changed. I'm just trying to do it in some semblance of order rather than I'm kind of just rattling on. I'll probably just reorder it when I edit the video. So what we do now, at 7 o'clock we put the boys to bed. If Martin's home, he will put Archie to bed and I'll put Jessie to bed. If I'm on my own, I put Archie to bed while kind of keeping Jessie occupied in his room, and then I will leave Archie and put Jessie to sleep. So they both go to bed around 6:30, 7 each night. I always put Jessie to sleep. He's very clingy to me. I think it's probably to do, I don't know, Archie was always a mummy's boy. I'd say it was probably to do with the breastfeeding as well. He uses the breast a lot for comfort. I kind of do a little routine, but the one thing I found with Jessie is he's hugely different to Archie. I've read about this. I don't know if anyone's heard about tension increases and tension decreases. So a tension decreaser is what Archie would have been. So they cry when you try and get them to sleep and bed, but they cry to sort of let out the stress, and once they've done that, they'll eventually just calm and calm until they can go off to sleep. On the other hand, a tension increaser is a baby that once they start crying, they get worse and worse and worse until they're in such a state there's no way that they'll fall asleep until they've been calmed down, and that is the category that Jessie would fall into. I've never cried it out with either of my boys. Sometimes they'd end up crying for a while just because I need to take a breath. Archie would cry a little bit, you know, not cry it out, but if I was with him, he'd cry and cry until he sort of settled himself to sleep. Jessie doesn't do that. If we leave Jessie to cry, if he cries for even 5 minutes, it would take us probably over an hour to calm him down and get him back to sleep. So I've tried, I don't want people to think I haven't tried anything. We've tried everything with Archie, Jessie. The same things we've tried with Archie, they just don't work. I've tried staying in the room with Jessie while he's in his cot, talking to him, singing to him, but staying with him and not holding him. It doesn't work. I'd be there literally all night. He never calms down and he never settles. I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons that things are so difficult. So at the moment, I will take him into our room. We have a little routine, but I find bath time excites my boys, so we don't do bath. So I take Jessie in and I will change his nappy, get him into his pyjamas, and then I will nurse him, and then I will rock him to sleep. I used to nurse to sleep, but then it started to become a problem because he wanted to play, so he didn't want to nurse. He'd roll over and start standing and climbing all over the bed and want to play. so it's never really a thing. So I have to get him into a state where he's calm enough that he wants to go to sleep, and nursing does the job for us for that. I've not been nursing him at bedtime to sleep really as well, because I've been trying to break the habit a little bit. I strongly believe that whatever works for you works for you, so it's only purely for us, but honestly it doesn't really help. So I do get him to sleep in his cot at the beginning of the night, just because we're downstairs and I just want him to be safe, so I feel like he's safer in his cot. But obviously lately, I say, he's been waking after half an hour, 45 minutes after I've got him to sleep in the first place, and nothing will settle him until I take him into our bed and nurse him back to sleep. So he does end up in his co-sleeper, and I will put the monitor on and we keep a close eye on him when that happens. But I try, naps he takes in his cot, and bedtime I do put him down in his cot at the beginning of the night. It's just that he doesn't stay there for very long. So naps, he's napping at the moment. Naps, on the other hand, he's always been a really good napper. I remember with Archie, go through stages of the 45-minute nap, and it was hell, and I could not figure it out for life. And I was like, why won't he nap for longer? And I couldn't, and eventually he just started napping on his own. So I think having that knowledge, I'm not so stressed about it this time. But Jesse has always napped really well, so he's having his morning nap at the moment, which we do about 2.5 hours after he wakes, and he sleeps for 1.5 to 2 hours every day. If he wakes early, it's always a bit unusual. It's like, why is he woken? Like, there must be something wrong, it must be his teeth. And then in the afternoon, both of my boys sleep together, and they will both sleep for about 1.5 hours, which is lovely. I never thought they'd have synchronised naps, ever. A lot of the time I do try and get him to sleep in his cot. I'll pat him, and but he will usually roll over, and if I leave him, which I've tried doing, he'll just either play himself awake or he'll get so upset that he wouldn't go back to sleep. So it is tricky. When I rock him to sleep, I do immediately put him down. So once his eyes are starting to close, I don't wait until he's in a deep sleep. I do immediately put him down. Sometimes he will wake instantly and I'll need to do it again to put him down, but what I'm trying to do is just gradually get him getting used to self-settling without him getting himself so worked up that he can't sleep. So I do immediately put him down. Some nights I'll only have to put him down once or twice and he'll just stay asleep. Some nights I have to do it like 7 to 9 times, and those nights are the ones where I'm ripping my hair out. With Archie, we did sleep train him. We kind of did shush pat I used to do, pick up, put down we tried. After he was 1, we used to sit in the room with him and do gradual withdrawal. I tried everything, I did everything I thought I should do with Archie to get him to sleep. Do I think it was successful? He is a good sleeper now, but at the time, it never worked for long. So, we'd get him sort of sleeping on his own. We'd have, a good, I don't know, sometimes a few months, sometimes a few weeks, and then we'd find ourselves back to square one. So we'd be repeating the sleep training process again and again and again, and it never was something we did and then that was it. He was sort of trained to sleep. So it's not something I entirely believe in for that reason this time. I don't believe, well, with us, my experience anyway, is that you don't sleep train and that's it. They sleep good forever. It's always something you have to repeat. So that's why this time I've been so much more relaxed about just doing what comes naturally. I don't believe, they're not going to be in our bed when they're teenagers. It's not going to be a problem then. Jesse also may be my last child, so I'm kind of not so worried about it. I know that one day he isn't going to want to sleep in our bed, and one day he'll not want cuddles and to be breastfed. So I'm kind of just taking it in my stride at the moment. Sometimes it is hard, and honestly I do struggle. I cry, I break down, and it is so difficult. But other times I accept it and I just do what works for us. And the way we're doing things at the moment is basically, when it becomes a problem, deal with it. I remember Archie going through bad stages when he was just starting to walk, or a developmental stage. So that's why I believe at the moment he's just so excited, he doesn't want to settle. So I do believe it's just a stage at the moment, but I will continue to rock him until he becomes too heavy, which I'm quite a little person, so it is tricky sometimes. And then we'll change things. But unlike with Archie, I'm not in any set, right, we need to do this, we need to try this sleep training technique, and we need to get him self-settling. I'm just doing it, I'm trying to do it as gradually as I possibly can, because Jesse is just such a different child. So once he wakes in the evening, and I do usually put him back in our bed and I nurse him back to sleep, he will usually then stay asleep until either we come to bed or quite late. So once I put him back down, say, I don't know, it could be 8 or 9, he will usually do a long stretch then in our bed. And we have had nights lately where he would nurse all night long, which drove me crazy because it was so hot. But say last night, we had a really good night. So last night, once we went to bed about 10:30, 11, I don't monitor it, so I never actually know for sure, but I don't remember waking with him until about 5 in the morning, at which time he had a quick feed and then went back to sleep until 6 or 7. So that was a brilliant night for us. I mean, I slept so well, and we do have nights like that, and nights like that, I just think this is like fine, and I love having him in with us. He's on my side, so he's not in the middle, he's on my side, and he has his co-sleeper. So what he'll usually do is nurse, and then when he's had enough, he'll roll over and just sleep in his co-sleeper. And he does wake sometimes, and he will resettle on his own. It's been happening more recently. I never get excited about it because I don't think it's, you know, oh brilliant, from now on he's going to settle himself to sleep. I don't believe that, but it's always a nice thing that you know that sometimes he can do it on his own. And I do believe that he'll just gradually start to do it on his own. We're just really, I do most of the nighttime halt because he's with me, and because all he ever really requires is a quick breastfeed before going back to sleep. He would just usually settle back within probably under 5 minutes and nurse, and I can doze and I can try and get some sleep that way. So yeah, basically I know it's probably a bit outside of the norm for a lot of people, but we're not sleep training him. He's almost 11 months, he's never slept in his room, and we have no plans to move him out of our room. We have his cot at the end of our bed. I do try and get him to, like I say, he has naps in it, but during the night he does sleep in with us, and it will probably be that way for the foreseeable future. If Archie's ever poorly or wants to come in, we allow him in our bed too, but only because thankfully with Archie it's always sort of one night and then he's back to normal. He seems to like his own space. He's always been different to his brother that way. So yeah, I just want people to know that no matter what you do, it is entirely up to you. There's no wrong or right way to get your babies to sleep. At some point it may become an issue, as will nursing maybe, and at that time we will tackle it. But if something works for you, please just don't listen to pressure and just do whatever you have to. So many times I've felt pressure and that he's not sleeping well, and that to do things a certain way, and I now do not listen to anyone. We do what works for us, and that works for us. My baby's happy and we're happy, and that's obviously, if there's no issue, if there's no problem, then why try and fix it? So I just want people to know that what we do, if you do it and you're feeling anxious and, you know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I should be sleep training, and you know, we don't have to do anything we don't want to do, and as I keep saying, if it works for you, then carry on. But yeah, just leave me comments and stuff, and I love hearing from others who adopt a similar technique, or who have babies like Jessie, who attention increases. But yeah, and thanks for watching, and please subscribe, and we do weekly vlogs now. So yeah, thanks for watching.